1, 2, 3, yeah! This is Amari Purple Talk. Yes. Welcome to episode 58 of Amari Purple Talk, a podcast where I share my thoughts on the Prince musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, your imagination funk soloist. Thank you once again for tuning in. Please leave your comments in the comments section below, and please download on your favorite podcast platform. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And before we dive into our main topics, I am once again announcing the upcoming Sign of the Times Twitter thread that is moderated by Edgar Cruz and DJ UMB. And basically the dates will be announced soon as everyone gets their Super Deluxe edition in hand. I know a lot of people, you've gotten notices that you won't get it till the 29th. Other people say October 6th. I was one of those tentatively getting it the 29th, but I actually got it today. Well, actually it is now yesterday. I'm recording this episode actually on the day it will be released this time, but I did get it yesterday, which would have been Sunday. So I got mine and was kind of jamming to it, preparing for the show notes and also the original album reaction, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But kind of once everybody gets settled in, has time to digest it, and some dates will be announced, and I'll let you know when that will take place, as well as the segments or songs that I will be writing about. So I'll let you know when that's going to happen. Also, once again on October 10th, there will be a virtual Sign of the Time Super Deluxe celebration that will be moderated by Polished Solid Productions. So be on the lookout for that. October 10th, it'll be probably similar to the symposiums that you've seen that I also talked about in previous episodes as well. Those are great. They're a lot of fun, lots of information. Also, in addition to various key players amongst our purple musical singularity, there's also interviews with associates or associates participating in workshops and that type of thing. So definitely be on the lookout for that as well. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start with our first topic. And basically, I'm going to just talk briefly about the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. I do have a video, which will be, depending on when you listen to this, sometime around afternoon today. Check it out. It will be just a review of the remastering of the original album. There will be other videos later on down the line. I'll do one on the vault tracks. I'll also do one on the live CD, the live DVD as well. So, but once I get those completed and after I've had time to digest it, I will put those up. But basically, yeah, because I didn't get mine on the actual release date, I've been streaming it the entire weekend, and I'm glad this thing is out. Again, if any of you remember me from NPG Music Club days, back when I was funkicidal in those days. You've heard me type ad nauseum wanting a Sign of the Times deluxe set, box set, whatever. And this particular set, it did not disappoint. Now, I have a few little nitpicks, but I mean, they're little nitpicks, and actually I won't address it until I do the video for the vault tracks. But other than that, I am just blown away. Like I said, just check out my video on the original album. That remaster, it's amazing. The majority of the tracks, for me, not only takes me back to 1987, I'm in the present, I'm also in the future. It's they done a good job. Now, it's not a remixing remaster, kind of like what you get with the Beatles, what they've been putting out recently with their deluxe editions. So it won't be a remix at all, but just a simple remaster alone, it's just nice to just be able to hear this album again. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Again, check out the original album review. I've got the link in the show notes, so definitely check that out. The vault tracks, I'm still digesting those. Where to begin? It is nice to have clean official versions of the stuff that I've either had on crappy tapes forever, the last 30 some odd years. So it's nice to have clean, officially released versions of those. A lot of the things that I've never heard before. Again, I'm still digesting it, but yeah, some things I've taken to right away. Some things are still growing on me. So again, let me digest that, and when I put up the video about the vault tracks, we'll discuss then. Let's see what else. The live CD. Just because I got the physical media to just on Sunday, I've only had time to really listen to it as I was preparing for the reaction video and for this episode. So I've gotten through about 3/4 of the original album. So my comparisons with that versus how I've been listening to it on both Tidal and Apple Music, doing comparisons that way. Haven't really gotten into the vault tracks on the CD yet. Did most of the vault tracks over the weekend. But I was listening to maybe a good 25% of the live CD. And this is something, it's one I've never heard before. I've heard others. I think maybe Paris might have been the first Sign of the Times live bootleg I've heard. It might have been Paris or Germany or something like that, but I've heard those. There's one, I forget which city I have, but to me they were all relatively the same. But this one on the CD, man, this is amazing. I know a lot of other people have heard it. It's a favorite amongst a lot of the collectors, and I definitely see why. I really haven't had a chance to dive into the video. I know it's been posted on YouTube by The Estate, which was a great thing. But I was really trying to save my excitement for actually sitting down and watching the actual DVD. So that being said, I'm looking forward to seeing this. I haven't seen this in its entirety. I do understand that it is a brand new sort of editing as far as the video portions of it are concerned. But I've seen bits and pieces of it in earlier states. But yes, I'm looking forward to just watching it from beginning to end. So, yeah, like I said, there's a lot to digest, a lot to go into, but I'm glad it's out. Man, I'm still really digesting the 1999 Super Deluxe, really. And so much, but, we've kind of expected this. It's one of those things you really have to sit down, and you can't really get it in one sitting. You're going to be living with this for a while, and you're going to be constantly surprised and constantly amazed, and you're just reliving your favorites, or you're reliving your memories. So, yeah, if you do not have this, get it while it's out. Because I hear it's hard to get the 1999 Super Deluxe Edition now, and if you can, you're paying double the price, triple the price, whatever. But definitely, by all means, get this while you can. I've got the CD. Don't know if I get the vinyl. It's a lot to drop down on, but if I do, it might just be the original album, just to have a remastered copy of that on vinyl. But yeah, by all means, get what you can while you can, and definitely enjoy it. But again, the original album review, there's a link in the show notes for that, so definitely, by all means, check that out. Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment there, leave a comment here, and let me know how you feel. Are you excited about it, or you still anticipating your physical media delivery? Have you been checking it out streaming wise? Did you get it and download it digitally? I want to hear your thoughts on it. I want to share in the excitement. It can't be just about my excitement all the time. I want to hear you guys' excitement as well. So leave me a comment and let me know. And with that out of the way, we're going to move on to our next topic. And it's pretty much our main topic for today. Because I wanted to steer away from the sign of the times excitement and throw it over to the reviews. But we're going to talk about the Prince Netflix documentary. Now, there has been no official word from Netflix and no official word from the Prince estate. We have no idea who the director is. A while back, there was a sort of trusted insider that relayed information that Ezra Elderman was tapped as director, replacing Ava DuVernay, although there has been no official confirmation of that as of today. So with that being said, there have been confirmations from Kat Glover, Jill Jones, Ruth also, although she's not participating in the documentary, but she does have inside information on it. But there has been confirmation from Kat and Jill. Jill's is overwhelmingly positive, while Kat didn't have quite a pleasant experience. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the details and what was said on their respective social media posts, but for a lot of you out there in the Prince musical singularity that follow those individuals on social media, you already are aware. But to get a sort of commentary on the events at hand, I've put a link in the show notes for Prince's friend, his video, and it's called Prince Rumblings, Prince Netflix documentary Rumblings, and by all means check that out. He does a great job at conveying the information on Jill's experience, on Kat's experience, and his thoughts and opinions on it are pretty solid as well. So basically, what I'm going to convey is just my thoughts and opinions, not on the whole drama aspect of it, given Kat's experience. Although when you, watch the video, there is also confirmation from Michael Dean of the Prince podcast. And, these guys are kind of like the Washington Post of the Prince musical singularity here. They're going to get the inside track. They're going to get the scoop. They're going to have the Watergate tapes, and they're going to blow this out the water. So apparently there was a bad experience relating to the crew assigned to interview Kat. And yeah, it didn't go well. Led to her backing out of the project. But there has been kind of a confirmation that things are being worked out in that area. So with all of that being said, that it does appear that it's rolling, it's in production. And although I know at some point it was supposed to come out either this year or last year, but I believe that the first factor being the change in directors. So basically you had Ava DuVernay's vision of how the documentary should, or the narrative that she wanted to tell with the documentary. Since she is no longer attached to the project, then whether it's Ezra Elderman or whoever has been assigned to direct the documentary, then it's now with the approval of the estate that this will be the person assigned to the narrative. Now, like I said, I wasn't not going to go too heavy into the drama, regarding, who had a good experience, who had a bad experience. But basically what this comes down to is that it's going to be the narrative that the estate is in control of. And with that, I'll say this. Now, there may be some elements that may be uncomfortable. I mean, you can run the risk of, which is why I'm not really a huge fan of, say, biopics. I kind of take a biopic at face value. So it's basically who's in charge of the narrative. If the respective estates are in control of that narrative, then you do run the risk of everything just being, everything's great, this person was great from beginning to end, they never had a bad day, nothing ever went wrong. And then you may have individuals that aren't in control, that someone does a biopic or documentary, then the narrative is going to go different. Will it be sensationalized? Will it just focus on, the dirt? Will it be a piece designed to bring them down or build them up? And really with a documentary, I feel you have a better shot at telling, hopefully, depending on the director, depending on, especially if it's an estate controlling the production or how the production should go, you want to kind of get a more balanced narrative. In other words, touch on the things that made them great, touch on the journey that got them there, touch on what it took to stay there. If there are, controversial moments in that artist's life, then it should be told with a sort of fair and impartial perspective. It should be taught with a sense of balance, or understanding, and depending on the situation, a case of sympathy. with this particular documentary, I have my own personal expectations of it. And basically, what I want to see is the sort of overall narrative that was only touched on in The Beautiful Ones. In other words, I would want this documentary to succeed where The Beautiful Ones sort of, I don't want to say failed. To me, it didn't fail. Basically, The Beautiful Ones, I mean, again, it's down to those 50 pages, and wishing there were 150 pages or 100 pages. So what I would like that documentary to do would be to sort of pick up the ball where that one left off and allow that mission statement to come through overall. So that way it covers the journey to success. It covers the success itself, what it took to stay there, the ups, the downs, the sort of peaks and valleys, covers all of our favorite eras. I want this to have, it's going to be Netflix, so I'm assuming it's going to be, maybe a 7-part piece or however many parts it would take to do it, 5 episodes, 6, 7 episodes, 10 episodes. I would like to see this as a sort of one-man Beatles anthology. And, in this particular case, there'll be some similarities to, say, a Jimi Hendrix documentary. One that covers the entirety of his career. And you do have to touch on the end. Now, I think, I guess some of the concern, especially if you watch the Prince's Friend video, the risk of sensationalizing, the pills, sensationalizing the death. There's a risk of that. I'm not so much worried about it being sensationalized, but it depends. Netflix now has sort of this reputation, probably within the last maybe 2 years or so, maybe 2 or 3 years, of presenting certain documentaries when it comes to a sort of controversial situation. But the thing is, there's a certain quality that's attached to it. There's a certain bit of prestige to where it's not a sensationalized piece. It's documentaries that do what they're supposed to do. They're asking the appropriate questions and putting forth the evidence that makes the viewer ask those questions as well. And once the public starts to ask those questions, depending on what it is, I would pick out 2 documentaries in particular. Now, they're different in scope, different in tone as to what a Prince documentary is going to be. And hopefully it's one that's covering the career. And again, the journey to success, the success itself, what it took to get, to stay on top, some of the peaks and valleys, because he really didn't have a downfall. He didn't end up in the game broke. He didn't end up he could never regain the heights of a certain plateau in his career ever again. He successfully, some rough spots here and there, but to me, he successfully navigated a way to remain on a certain plateau and remain successful while understanding that, hey, Purple Rain was Purple Rain, and it's never going to be that big again, and I'm not going to try to top it. I'm not going to try to do, like with Thriller, do the bad album or whatever. I'm just going to keep doing the music I want to do, and that's the success right there. So hopefully that's the narrative that we're going to get. But in regards to, I would say, should they go there, or I would put it this way, should a particular episode of the documentary go in that direction, then hopefully it will have the quality and pose the correct questions as, number one, the 2 killings of Sam Cooke. And the second one, I'm drawing a blank on the title right now, but it was the Malcolm X documentary. Let's see. All right, let me pull this up here. Okay, Who Killed Malcolm X? That's the title. So, again, I would say if you're going to do something totally along those lines, that should be a separate documentary. A totally separate documentary. But, again, if you're not going to sugarcoat the documentary, if you're going to present a very balanced view in the documentary, if you're going to say, not even devote an entire episode. Now, I don't know how long these episodes would be. Would they be an hour long, hour and a half long, half an hour, depending. But let's just assume each episode is about roughly hour 15 each or something like that. Or, 90 minutes each episode or something. Assuming that, let's just say, don't do a entire episode. Say if they only devoted 15, 20 minutes of it, then it should still have the quality and pose those particular questions, and not in a sensationalized way, but to ask questions that the public, and in addition, definitely, because it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I do agree with Jill Jones' assessment that this should bring a certain bit of closure to those that don't have it. And that's a pretty valid question as well. Because I don't know, now that I'm speaking on it, do I have it? Or is part of to be honest, part of the reason of having this podcast with this particular theme as opposed to other themes? Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's a form of closure. Listening, prior to me starting this, listening to all the others, the Princess Friends, the Podcast Juice, and, so many of the other shows that are out there, a lot of the people, even though I haven't had a chance to check their shows out yet, that I've just seen on Twitter a lot of times, because they're presenting things that I don't get to discuss with. I know there's, 3-4 musicians on the planet that I know I can have this conversation with, but because of distance and scheduling, I don't get to have that, as opposed to having that conversation in 1987 or even 1997. Hell, let alone 2007. So, it's therapeutic for me as well. So hopefully, that's the main goal of this documentary, to kind of bring a balance to all of this. We're 4 years, almost going into 5 years in. And, we have thanks for the box sets and the super deluxe editions, and thanks for originals and this video and this DVD. But, in our own way, we're good. We're getting through it too. So, yeah, I'm not one if it's going to sensationalize, or, it turns into like a TMZ piece or something, or, whatever one of those, any one of those cable channels that shows all that crap about murders and stuff like that, and how and why and this and that. If it's going to be, like I said, do it the way the Sam Cooke video, or the documentary, the Sam Cooke one, the Malcolm X one, but that would have to be a totally different documentary in itself. And that's if everybody in the estate is on the same page about wanting something like that, to wanting those questions answered in that way, or when it's the right time to do so. But with all that being said, it's good that we're getting some confirmation that this thing is rolling along. It could be 2021, 2022. Of course, the pandemic, all the lockdowns, and we're not out of the woods yet. But, that slowed a lot of things down, and a lot of these film projects, Prince Estate included, a lot of things have been put on the back burner and things have been delayed, and, now they're starting to slowly roll along. So I'm glad that that's one thing that is happening. I know last week we talked about the Apple TV documentary and whether or not that's a reality, but it's good that the Netflix, I'm more looking forward towards the Netflix documentary than the Apple TV one. My views are still the same from last week. I would prefer that the concert, the Benefit 1983, that show, I prefer that to be a CD, and give me the documentary as a DVD, whether you bundle it with the CD or sell it separately, whatever you do. But or if you throw it on Apple TV, make it available on DVD and Blu-ray the following week or something, or same day, however that wants to be done. But I'm glad that the Prince documentary is getting some shine. But what's most important is, what do you think? Are you excited that this is finally happening? And whether it takes another year, definitely take your time, especially if you're talking about quite a few episodes, so many minutes or an hour long or hour and a half long or whatever. Like I said, I want the Prince anthology. You don't have to call it that, but that's what I'm going to call it for now until the official title comes out, because I want that as big as the Beatles anthology. That was when it was on TV, it was 3 nights, think about 2 hours long each. There was or when it was on DVD, which you had more stuff, that was 8 DVDs, plus a bonus DVD with a lot of extra stuff too. So that's what I want. I want the Prince anthology. Yep, make it however long for Netflix. If you do a DVD version, put some bonus stuff on it. Come out with a big thick book. Come out with a box set with, and put some new stuff on it, some vault stuff, and make it happen. So I'm looking forward to it. But what's most important is, what do you guys think? Are you excited about it? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And so we're going to end the night with a few shout outs. So this was all based off of Nightchild Eternal. Check out Nightchild Eternal's YouTube channel. Yep, another member of the Prince musical singularity. That's right. We're all like, purple artificial intelligence. And when we all get on the same page, then, it's time to get John Connor and Neo on the phone. But we ain't trying to destroy the world. We're just trying to make it purple and funky. So definitely check out that YouTube channel. But there was a Twitter question that was posed to Nightchild, and regarding, how would you you know, turn somebody on to Prince that, you know, that are kind of new to the game. And he also posed that question to the rest of us out here that have shows. And I don't know. For me, as far as I took the question as what episode originally, you know, would I suggest? And I mean, here we are. We're just what, 4 some odd episodes into season 2. And, you know, this is a show that's, you know, it's constantly growing, it's constantly evolving. But as I responded on Twitter, basically what I try to do is, in my brain, cater to people that are just coming into the fold. Because I feel like, you know, wherever you guys are, whether you're on such and such website, or whether you're on the org, or whether you're here, there, I know definitely a lot of people that have been doing shows a lot longer than me. You know, they've got the inside track. They know either as much as I do or more than I do. And, you know, so with that being said, basically what I try to do is, as far as that part of it goes, if there are new people that are like, well, what's this Prince thing all about? You know, I bought this Purple Rain and I really like it. What else is there? And, you know, or what's the deal? Or why are people talking about Sign of the Times now? Or what's up with this Gold Experience? You know, is that any good? So I try to kind of keep that mindset, because I always think about a lot of different things in regards to, like I said, I always reference the Beatles on this show a lot. I became a Beatles fan at 10, and it started off for me, besides Yellow Submarine as a kid, that used to come on TV every year. But what really started it for me was this compilation that nobody really wanted. You know, the Beatles didn't sign off on this compilation. The artwork was lousy on it. But that was the first Beatles record I got. It was a 2-record set. It was called Rock and Roll. And basically it focused on a lot of the rock stuff in their, in their career. And that started me on the path of being a huge Beatles fan. So doesn't matter when you come in or what album starts you off, once that door is open, then, for me, it was one of the second U.S. version of their albums. And from there, I found out about their original UK albums. And was like, oh, well, these are the ones that they intended. These are the original albums. They would come over here, the Capitol Records over here would take those albums, and like with an original UK version, you had 14 songs. Then over here in the US, they would take that album and take 4 songs off of it and put them together with something else. And, people over here grew up with a certain idea of Beatles albums up until Sgt. Pepper, actually. But that's it. The whole field of research is there. You get exposed to that one album, and then it's like, oh, well, what's this about? I want to hear the other one. Well, what does this sound like? And, and I started reading up on them and stuff, and, and like I said, just finding about, well, what does this album sound like? Or, oh, they're making a big fuss about this one. What's this Sgt. Pepper all about? Hendrix, I got into in college. Started off with one song, Red House. Because I may have heard like Purple Haze or something like that as a kid. But like when I got to college, I heard Red House and was like, oh, this is Jimi Hendrix. Okay. And years later, later on in college, then I ended up getting Are You Experienced? And once I got that, then I kind of skipped over Axis Boulder Love and not on purpose, but ended up with Electric Ladyland, which out of those three, Electric Ladyland is my absolute favorite. But, I've got huge love for Are You Experienced, and I got love for Axis Bold as Love too. Let's see, what else? I mean, it doesn't matter. Any artist. Bob Dylan was some college. Again, it was good friend of mine, musician, had put me on to Dylan. He had all the Dylan records, but he also had all the Earth, Wind, and Fire records, and he also had all the Marvin Gaye records and stuff. So that was like, okay, but he had this Dylan. It was the first Dylan box set that came out, and this was like about 90, 91. So that was the first one that I got it. So I got into Dylan that way. And, there's so, so with Prince, if you're somebody, regardless of age or whatever, this is, your first album or whatever, then that's who I primarily try to speak to with this show. And then on the other half, there may be people that have been Prince fans forever. And you got to understand the one thing about a lot of, I would say maybe half of the Prince shows out there, or I would say maybe even more than that. But the bottom line is that the majority of us, in some way, shape, or form, have some kind of knowledge on the inside track, where the mainstream, it's just like, oh, this is coming out. Great, let me listen to it. Or this movie's coming out. Let's go see the, or I didn't know so-and-so had a new record. I didn't know so-and-so had a new movie coming out or whatever. Where the majority of us, we know, when so-and-so got signed to the label, or, when somebody was, tapped to portray this role in a movie. And by the time, that announcement is made, we understand that that decision was made 6 months ago. It just may have been a matter of how much money, let's get that final dollar amount settled on before we announce it to the world. Or so-and-so is in negotiations for this. Then, they've already got the part. They're already tapped to direct it. They're just trying to figure out that minute little dollar where it's like, well, okay, well, look, we'll give you, 18 million. Well, no, I want 20. Okay, well, how about 19.5? And they're still trying to work that bit out for it. So, so for those that are like, well, what's this whole deal with Sony? And what's this whole deal with Warner Brothers? It's like, yeah, you love Prince, and you may even have a bunch of stuff in the vault and from the vault, and, you've been a fan for 20, 30, 40 years. But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't get it. Well, Warner Brothers, well, what's this Sony thing? And what do you mean 2021? And what's all that about? Then, that's what I also want to, impress on the listeners as well. Like, well, there's a reason behind this. There's a process behind it. Now, as far as basically what album, that's a tough one, especially with Prince. I mean, because I can only relate it from my personal experience, because I didn't start off, well, I unofficially started at day one. I always tell this about like the radio station here. It was a period I was like about 12, and it was summer, and for like a week I just had trouble sleeping. And just to kind of calm me down or whatever, it's just like, oh God, I can't go back to sleep. I just turn the radio on, and would turn it on real low so it didn't wake up the house or anything like that. But I have it low enough to where I can listen to it. And right about the time I would turn it on, whoever the DJ was at that time at night. I can't even remember the station. It could have been, it might have been FM. So it could have been KKSS about that time, probably. But the long and short of it was that within that block of songs, the commercial-free block of songs, there Soft and Wet was playing. But, because I missed the beginning, they're like, well, in our commercial-free block of songs, we're going to play Parliament Funkadelic, Flashlight, and we're going to play Grooveline, Heatwave, and Prince with Soft and Wet. I missed that part. So basically, I'd come in and Soft and Wet is playing. I'm like, oh, that band was great. Who was it? Who was it? And, because Soft and Wet just was, it only went so far on the charts and then it kind of went away after that. And then the second album, I just wasn't feeling it. Because Off the Wall was out and that was sort of the go-to. I was still grooving off of Funkadelic's Knee Deep that year. Let's see, what else? I was listening to, Motor Booty Affair, Parliament. Those were sort of my albums of the moment. And then to kind of round it out, I was kind of into Chic a little bit. But it was that Sister Sledge album that they produced, the We Are Family one, where I really was tuning into the guitar, and that's the thing that made me just want to do rhythm guitar. I was really getting into that. So by the time the second album was presented, it was just kind of like I was just in this off the wall frame of mind. But the way it was presented to me, oh, this guy's better than Michael Jackson. I was like, get out of here. No way, no way. But then came Dirty Mind, and I had an opportunity to really sit down and pay attention and listen. So that sort of became really the gateway album for me. It was Dirty Mind with that. So I don't know, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's musical tastes vary. So, I kind of agree with everybody else's sentiment, where it depends on the individual. So if you're totally into rock and you go, well, which album? Then I'm going to play you the rock stuff. You can start with As Early as I'm Yours from the first album. You could do Bambi from the second album. God, there's so many different solos, even in funk, that, check out the technique on this one. The thing that really solidified it for me, like I said, because I was so into Parliament Funkadelic, was so into Zap, was so into, Rick James in that, 79, 80, going into 81. Because I was so big into that, where I was also into things like New Wave, too. So listening to the Cars and listening to the Police and God, who else? Hall & Oates was coming up too. So listening to those things, where I got where he was going with Dirty Mind. I got where he was going with When You Were Mine. But Head was just so funky, and Party Up was so funky, and it also had that sort of message, because I was still listening to a lot of stuff from the 60s. I had Beatles albums, but on the radio I would hear the Stones and whoever else was going on during the 60s. Was able to play catch up that way, whether it was the Who or whether it was Zeppelin is more 70s than 60s. But the whole peace, love thing, anti-war type thing, that message was filtering in through me, even though here I am, teenage years, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, those messages from the 60s were still, reaching me as a person too. So, with Party Up, it had that sort of anti-war, anti-establishment vibe to it that, I kind of gravitated towards. So, I mean, it just really depends. It's all great. There's an era, there's a genre for everybody, there's no right or wrong way to get exposed to it, whatever your gateway album was, whatever your gateway album is at the moment, like I said, there's so many great people to choose from, with Prince's Friend, with the podcast Juice, they've done interviews with a lot of, and that's how I kind of fell in, interviews with a lot of the associates, and you get questions that definitely, that you really want the answers to. They're questions that I've always had that it's like, oh, good, I'm glad they asked that one. And you get certain insights and perspectives. Let's see, there's another one. Was that C.L. Johnson, the podcast? Can't think of the name of it right now. Podcast Nights, but he's also done interviews too. Check it out, because not every question is going to be the same. Every question is going to be different. But to get that sort of inside knowledge, that inside perspective, depending on which associate is getting interviewed, and explore that era. You'll get a lot of inside information on that era. And if it's one that you're not too familiar with, then that should inspire you to check it out and see for yourself what's going on with it. Whether it's a record or whether it's a certain video that you need to check out and just see how it goes. But it's, music is a beautiful journey. These last about 2 or 3 years, I've gotten back into vinyl. I was stupid for giving up vinyl in the first place, but vinyl is now back in my life. And just kind of buying vinyl. There's stuff that I've lost, but stuff that I've gotten back. So that's a joy. Got a little, the little sound design thing I got from the Goodwill. Hey, does its job. It's functional. So I get to play vinyl on that. But even the CDs, it's like, I get to relive, 1999, with that remastered CD. Feeling like I did listening to the vinyl back in 1983. So it's nice to go back in time that way. Sign of the Times, that remaster. Oh, man, that's past, present, and future. That I'm, the multiverse of madness with, with the Sign of the Times set now. And just basically, depending on the topic, whenever certain re-release, whether it's the Rainbow Children, the One Night Alone stuff, last year with the Emancipation, it was good to rediscover and revisit those eras again and get a new perspective. And especially people that are fans of those. Like, I get to see what they get out of it. And seeing that perspective, it allows me to see or hear things that, I might have missed, because, that album, that was contract obligation. But, listening to it again, I'm talking about the old Friends for Sale, that vault album. Yeah, that was one I listened to recently. It was like, this isn't half bad. It's pretty good stuff that's on it. It's not a thought out, like, I'm going to make an album. This was like, okay, here's some songs because I'm trying to get out of my contract. But, it's true what they say with Prince. It's like, yeah, even his throwaway stuff is still better than people still doing stuff now. So like I said, again, those songs aren't half bad on there. There were songs that I liked when I initially got it, but just listening to it from beginning to end, back then I didn't enjoy it. But listening to it recently was like, okay, well, that was a nice something to listen to on a Sunday morning. It was nice to listen to. So yeah, again, thanks very much for, including me into that question. And, definitely thanks to Michael Dean for the shout out on his most recent episode of Podcast Juice. And thanks to all of you out there too. Everybody that's jumping on board from week to week. Those numbers go up a little bit more. Definitely thanks for that. And like I say, just keep trying to bring you something a little different. Or a lot of times we all touch on the same subject, but there's always going to be a different opinion, or, I'll co-sign somebody's opinion or give a little different perspective on it or a different slant to it. And hey, let's all have fun. Like I said, again, this is, forget all that drama and crazy stuff that's out there. This is all music. And like I said, every era is great. Just check it out. And it's all subjective too. What I like, you might not like. And what you like, I might not like. But it's all good at the end. So definitely thanks for inviting me to the party. And, let's keep doing this week to week. And that is going to definitely end this episode of Amari Purple Talk. Like I said, again, check out the Sign of the Times, the original album review. There'll be more interviews, but there'll be more reviews coming up. And also check out What's in the Crate. It's my blog. I know I'm due new stuff, but hey, Sign of the Times stuff. There's stuff I got to write about that still. But there will be new articles. I am halfway through with the Beatles Revolver blog, but do check out some of the other ones. There's not that many. There's only like about 5 of them, 5 or 6 installments so far. But a little something for everybody. There's a Rolling Stones album I talk about. There's Parade I do talk about. But definitely check it out. It's just me talking about my vinyl collection. So definitely check that out. And like I said, new posts are coming. Let's see what else. There's other projects I'm working on, but again, just trying to balance the essentially non-essential essential gig also too, and then trying to balance that with enough available time to start to get these things finished now. So that's hopefully what I'll be doing for the rest of this year. But by all means, check out What's in the Crate. Go to AmariCommunications.com and just check out what I've got going on that website. And of course, tune back in next Monday for another installment of Amari Purple Talk. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube and listen or download and listen on your favorite podcast platform. And by all means, be safe out there everywhere. I mean, there's a lot that's still we need justice for Breonna Taylor. We are still not out of this pandemic, no matter how hard we want things to be normal, no matter how hard we act like things are normal, things are not. But that doesn't mean go into panic mode. That doesn't mean let your emotions get control of you. By all means, just stay centered, stay peaceful, and of course, stay safe. Do what you have to do, protect that immune system. Remember too, racism is a very ugly disease. We need to eradicate that as well on all its levels. And what we can do as the Prince Musical Singularity is to just keep it purple and on the one.